So good afternoon, everyone. So we are the group 4. So let's start muna tayo sa icebreaker. So next slide po. Oh my God.
Loading sa bawit na. Ano ba yan?
Gosh. Ay! Wag ka na mag-ano.
Oh.
Okay na. So, for icebreaker, guess nyo lang yung chemical formula niya. So, anyone, paunahay lang ta guys. Wala ni price guys ha. Ano lang ni siya. Kung tsabahon na lang namo si ma'am nga maghatag og dagdag grades, 'di ba? So,
Yeah,
anyone? So, mag-raise lang mong hands, guys. Kung gusto ninyo. Wait lang, din ako makita. Calcium hydroxide. So, anyone? Kinsa gusto mag-answer dira? Dagdag points daw. So, kinsa man ni? Lariosa. Sige, si Lariosa daw, be.
CA tapos open parenthesis OH close parenthesis 2. Tama ba?
Tama ba?
Ulit po.
Ulitin ako. CA
Okay.
tapos parenthesis OH tapos close 2. Tama? Subscript
Okay,
na 2.
very good. So, tama si Miss Lariosa, no? So, ma'am, take note na lang, ma'am, kaya wala may pang prize.
Okay. Sige, go.
So, second slide.
Dili mag-next.
Piyong sa mo, Biki, baka makita ninyo. Piyong sa mo.
Man-next tanan ba? Wait lang. Maka-stress na yun.
Ay, ka-stress.
Dili siya mag-next. Ala, Dili siya mag-next.
Naghang in laptop. Ano sa daw? Unshare. Tarungas.
Ay, makita.
Ano sa?
Ay!
Piyong sa mo. Ano?
Ayap, Group B, you can participate. I'll just credit the extra points sa lecture. Group 2 di ay. Group.
Ayan. Next. Ano na next na?
X. Guess nyo naman yung chemical name niya. So, go na guys. Kinsa mag-participate. Wait lang. Gana ninyo sana all. Sige, try natin si Singkoy. Aquila Singkoy.
Aluminum oxide.
Wait, tignan natin if yan. Okay, very good. Next slide. Reveal na natin ang correct answer.
Hindi na sa chaman next. Habang.
So, si Miss Singkoy is tama. Aluminum oxide.
Hindi siya next.
Hindi siya next.
Ano ba yan?
Naghang guro siya sa ano, yung hang effects.
Ayan.
Okay, sige, go.
Charan. So, third. Ito na yung third na. Oh my God. So, guess na naman ulit natin. Alternate lang to. So, chemical formula. Paunahay lang raise ng hand. Uy. Okay, si Ogoy. Andrea Ogoy. Miss Andrea. Hindi ko madungog.
Di magana ang mic.
Sige. Mamaya ka na lang if ano. Para mas yung may mic talaga. Sige, try natin si Patangan. Van Irene Patangan.
SCL.
So, reveal natin.
Ayaw ma-reveal.
Ayaw niya naman na-reveal. Lowi ka, Lowi sa muna.
Ay, ayan na.
Okay, next na. So, eto na naman. Chemical name ng nakalagay sa screen. Anyone? So, unahay lang to guys. Sayang points, guys. Ay, ka na. Okay, si Potikar. Okay, kamuta dyan niya yung erase. Hindi na siya emoji na erase lang. So, okay, go.
Lead to lead, tapos tong may open parenthesis, tapos 2, and close parenthesis, tapos sulfate.
Wait. Okay. So, tama. So, take note, ma'am. Si Potikar. Kaya grabe dyan yung race, ma'am. Hindi na emoji. So, next. Okay, ito. Chemical formula. Ay, ito na yung kanina, di ba? Wait lang. Nag-ulit tayo. Ay, okay. Hindi pala. Iba pala yung kanina. So, ito. Chemical formula ng calcium hydroxide. So, anyone? Raise some hands, guys. Sayang po ng points. Wala lagi ga raise.
I think we have 3, Provido and Diaz, and who's the other one? I cannot see. Diaz, Provido, and Kokal. They are raising their hands.
Okay, sorry ma'am. Hindi ko makita dito. So, sige. Si Kokal na lang.
CaOH CaOH tapos subscript na 2.
Subscript na to.
Lahi lagi.
Ca. Ayun, calcium hydroxide. That should be
Cobalt
CaOH2.
lagi.
CaOH2 dapat yan. I mean, let me write on the screen. This should be like this. Okay. Ay, makita ba? Oo, yes, precious. Nakita. CaOH2 yan ha. Okay, next.
Mana pa-icebreaker.
One na rin.
Icebreaker.
Na-stress na lang.
So, good afternoon ulit, guys. Unta okay pa ta ninyo, no? Sorry dahil kay nagalag ang PowerPoint. So, to start our report, so the task that is given to us is report about naming of inorganic compounds. So, inorganic compounds is composed of 2 or more chemical elements without carbon. So, na-mention ni siya itong first lesson nato sa chem na basta inorganic is wala dyan siya carbon. So, next slide po. So, next is the element. So, nakabutang din sa screen is hydrogen. So, mo ni siya ang example sa element na makita nato sa periodic table. So next is the compound. Compound is composed of 2 or more elements. So element plus element is equals to compound. So na-address sa screen mo ni sila ang example sa compound. So for ammonia, 3 hydrogen and 1 nitrogen. And for the water, H2O, 2 ka hydrogen, tapos isa ka oxygen. The same with the hydrogen, 2 ka H. So next slide po, please. So next is the ions. The ions is contains of 1 or more atoms. So next po. So we have 4 kinds of ions, which is the cations, anions, monoatomic ions, and the polyatomic ions. First is the cations. Pag cations, positive charge, yun na siya guys. So pag ang cations is mag-lose ng electrons kay mas daghan man ang iyahang protons. Ang anion naman is, which is the negative charge, mag-gain ng electrons since mas gamay ang iyahang proton. Next is the monoatomic ions. So monoatomic ions is the one type of ions. So here's are the example. Sodium may positive charge, and for the chlorine have the negative charge. Then the polyatomic ions, it is the 2 or more atoms. It is a 2 or more atoms, same with compound but has charges. So ang polyatomic ions, guys, is the same siya sa compound, pero ang compound is walay charges. So next po, please. So here's are the common polyatomic ions. So mo ni siya ang magamit na to, guys, para sa pag-answer for this activity. So diri mo magtanong, for example, acetate ang ginapangita or ammonium and etc. The next po. So now, let us now go to the formula of metals and non-metals. So the same lang siya kung ang pangitaon po is metals and polyatomic ions. So ang gamitin po na formula is the metal and non-metal. So first is to write the symbol. Number 2 is to write the charges. And the number 3 is to add their charges. Pero if the sum of their charges is equals to 0, then the chemical formula is already correct or remain the same lang ang ilahang charges. Pero pag ang charges nila, ang sum nila is not equals to 0, that is the time na mag-crisscross ta. And then sa final answer, remove the positive, remove the charges. So next po. So next is for the non-metal plus non-metal formula. Number 1 is to use the prefixes in naming. So ang prefixes na ginaingon is the mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, and deca. So pag mono, 1, di, 2, etc. The number 2 is, pero if the atom is only 1 in the first element, then the prefixes aren't needed. So number 3 is, second element always end with IED. So ay dagdag ko lang pala guys, pag polyatomic ions, always end po siya sa ITE or ATE. So, next po, please. So now, let us now answer the table A. So, first is the aluminum hydroxide carbonate. So, since na-answeran na ni siya sa example sa activity, let us now proceed to aluminum hydroxide. So, since ang aluminum is makip, which is under sa metal, so tapos ang hydroxide is a
Polyatomic ion.
And the hydroxide is a common polyatomic ion. So, ang sunod na to na formula is the metal plus non-metals. So, ang first is to write their symbols. So, Al for aluminum and OH for hydroxide. The number 2 is to write their charges. So, ang charges diay is makita sa periodic table, which is depende kung asa siya nakabutang na group. So, for aluminum, we have the positive 3, and for the hydroxide is negative 1. So, next is to add their charges. So, positive 3 plus negative 1 is equals to 2. So, since it is not equal to 0, we will do the crisscross. So, ang charges nila is mag-exchange. So ang aluminum becomes 1 and for the hydroxide becomes 3. So next is for the aluminum nitrate. So the same gihapon since it is under metal plus polyatomic ion siya. So the same gihapon ang gamit na formula. So first is to write the symbol which is the Al for aluminum and nitrate NO3. And for the charges, positive 3 for aluminum and negative 1 for nitrate. So positive 3 plus negative 1 is equal to 2. So since their charges when we add is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the aluminum becomes 1 and for the nitrate becomes 3. So since na siya subscript guys, morning time na magbutang tag open and close parentheses. So these are the formula of aluminum nitrate. So next is for the aluminum sulfide. So again, write their symbols. And then number 2 is to write their charges. And then number 3 is to add their charges. So since it is equals to 1 ulit, it is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the aluminum becomes 2 and for the sulfide becomes 3. And since may subscript siya ulit, we will put again the open and close parentheses.
Okay. Wait lang, before tayo mag-proceed, actually, tama yung mga answers ni dito na we need to do crisscross if the charges is not equal to 0. So these are all correct except this one. Di ba mag-crisscross sila kasi this is not equal to 0. Do not forget class, if you do the crisscross that you have to write OH inside the open and close parenthesis. So this should be the correct answer for aluminum hydroxide. Okay? Hindi mo siya dapat ilagay yung OH, yung 3 sa tapat ng hydrogen kasi that will refer to na meron ka ng 3 hydrogen. Nakalimutan natin si oxygen when in fact that's one entity kasi sila kasi we are referring to hydroxide. So si hydroxide, OH lang talaga yan siya. Hindi yan siya pwedeng maging OH3. So kung magkakaroon siya ng subscript kasi nag-crisscross tayo, ilagay mo talaga siya inside the parenthesis. Just like the other examples. Okay? Any question about this? Non-reporters? Wala. So again ang first step natin is to write the symbols of the element. But in this case, ang kasama ni first element or ng metals natin are polyatomic ions. So write also the symbols of the polyatomic ions. That's number 1 na step. So this is number 1 here. And then number 2 na step, you have to identify their charges. And then number 3, you have to add the charges. So if it is not equal to 0, always do the 4th step, the crisscross. So when you do the crisscross, the charge of the element will be given to its kasama na element or polyatomic ion, but in the form of a subscript. So again, we call these numbers as subscripts. Even this one, this is also a subscript, but that is automatic for carbonate. You can ask questions if you are confused about something. Okay? Reporters, please continue.
Thank you po, ma'am. Okay, next is for the copper to carbonate. So the same pa rin, we will first is to write their symbol, which is Cu for copper, and carbonate is CO3. Then the number 2 is to write their charges. The copper is 2 and for the carbonate is negative 2. So since it is, for number 3 is to add their charges. So since it is equals to 0, equal na siya. So mag-remain ng ilahang charges. So the charges for the copper is 2 and for the carbonate is 2. And since may subscript siya ulit, we will put the open and close parentheses. And next for the copper to hydroxide, the same again, is to write their symbols. And for number 2 is to write their charges. And then Number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 2 for the copper and hydroxide is negative 1. So positive 2 plus negative 1 is equals to 1. So it is not equals to 0 again. That is why mag-crisscross ulit. Then the copper becomes 1 and for the hydroxide becomes 2. So wala siya nabutang open and close parentheses. Itong ganihan ni ma'am. So correction lang to siya guys. Then for the copper to nitrate, ganun pa rin, write their symbols. And for number 2 is to write their charges. Positive 2 for copper and for nitrate is negative 1. So when we add the charges, it is equals to 1. So it is not equals to 0. So mag-crisscross na sa ulit. So the copper becomes 1 and for the nitrate becomes 2. So may subscript siya ulit. So magbutang na butang open and close parentheses. And for the copper to sulfide, the same again, write their symbol. And for number 2 is to write their charges. So the copper again is positive 2 and for the sulfide is negative 2. So since when we add the charges, it is equals to 0, then their charges will remain. So the copper remains 2 and for the sulfide remains negative 2. So since nasad siya subscript, we will put again the open and close parentheses. So,
are you done with copper?
Opo, ma'am.
Okay, so let's check whether your answers are correct here. So tama naman na this is the first step. So copper and carbonate, and then this is the second step. Write their charges positive 2 and then negative 2. And then let's add them. So positive 2 and negative 2 is equal to 0. So if it's equal to 0, what was my instruction again? Class?
Combine, ma'am.
Combine
Hindi
the
na
symbol.
maglagay ng subscript, ma'am.
Okay, hindi na maglagay ng symbol. So you have to remove this one, reporters. This should be CuCO3. Again, if the sum of the charges is equal to 0, wala na tayong crisscross na magaganap. Crisscross is just for those na ang sum is not equal to 0. So again, this is equal to 0 here. So all we need to do is to combine the symbols. So you have the copper and the carbonate. Hindi na lalagyan ng subscript na 2. And then for the hydroxide again, since we did crisscross here because pag-add natin ng kanilang charges, copper is positive 2, tapos negative 1 COH, this is equal to 1. So kailangan natin mag-crisscross. The correct answer here is CuOH2. Nasa labas si 2 class, kailangan natin siya ilagay sa open and close parenthesis. I hope that is clear sa inyo na pag meron tayong polyatomic ions like this one, pag lalagyan natin sila ng subscript, ilalagay natin sila inside the open and close parenthesis. Pag ang subscript niya ay 2 pataas, kasi kung kagaya nito, wala na siyang subscript, hindi na natin siya ilalagay inside the open and close parenthesis. Now for nitrate, this is copper 2, nitrate is negative 1. So yes, we will do crisscross here. Copper will take the 1. Pero again, hindi na kailangan lalagyan ng 1, no? And nitrate will take the 2. So this is correct. Now for copper sulfide, copper is positive 2, sulfite is negative 2. So if we add, this is equal to 0. So again, if equal to 0, no need to do the crisscross, just combine the symbol. So this is now the correct answer for copper sulfide, CuSO3. So I hope naintindihan yon. Any question?
None, ma'am.
Okay, so let us continue.
So for the iron 3 carbonate, the same again, which is to write their symbols, Fe for iron and COT for the carbonate. And then number 2 is to write their charges. So Fe iron is positive 3, and for the carbonate is negative 2. And then for number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 3 plus negative 2 is equals to 1. And since it is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the iron becomes 2 and for the carbonate becomes 3. So kanina na correction ni ma'am is dili na magbutang og subscript. I mean close and open parentheses sa final answer. So for next is for the iron 3 hydroxide. So again, we will write the symbol, which is Fe for iron and OH for hydroxide. Then write their charges, positive 3 for the iron, and for the hydroxide is negative 1. And then for number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 3 plus negative 1 is equals to 2. So since it is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the Fe become, or the iron become 1, and for the hydroxide becomes 3. So kulang na set ni siya guys of open and close parentheses. So for number 3, for next is iron 3 nitrate. So again, we will write the symbol, which is Fe for iron and nitrate for NO3. And for the number 3 is to write their charges. So 3 for iron and negative 1 for nitrate. And for the number 3 is to add their charges. So since it is equals to 2 and it is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the iron becomes 1 and for the nitrate becomes 3. So since na siya subscript, we will put the open and close parentheses. And for the last is the iron 3 sulfide. So the same again, write their symbols. And for number 2 is write their charges. And for number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 3 plus negative 2 is equals to 1. So since it is not equals to 0, we will do again the crisscross. So the iron becomes 2 and for the sulfite becomes 3. And since may subscript siya, we will put the open and close parentheses. Yun lang po.
Okay. Sige, let us check. So this is correct here. They don't have the same charges, no, positive 3 and negative 2. So automatic dili na siya equal to 0. So let's do the crisscross. So Fe will take the 2 from carbonate and carbonate will take the 3 from Fe. Okay? And then this one, positive 3 and negative 1. So definitely mag-crisscross. But to correct this is FeOH 3 sa labas. Ano yan? Pag, tanong ko lang po, paano po pag, for example, magnesium, positive 2, ferricyanide, FeCN6. This one, tapos this is negative 3. So, paano kung ang ipagawa sa inyo magnesium ferricyanide? So, positive 2 plus negative 3 is equal to negative 1. So definitely kailangan natin mag-crisscross. So ano yung gagawin? This is how this is the correct answer. Magnesium will take the 3 from the ferricyanide and then ferricyanide will take the 2. Pero since meron tayo dyan existing class na open and close parenthesis, we will use the bracket. Okay? So bracket Fe and then CN, FeCN6, and then lagay mo ang close na bracket and sa labas si 3. Ganun ang correct answer. Did I answer your question, Judel? Nakuha yon. So that is just question lang yan ni Judel. Now, let's check for the other na examples here. We have iron 3 nitrate. So nitrate is negative 1. Kailangan din natin mag-crisscross. Iron will take the 1 from the nitrate and iron will take and nitrate will take 3 from the iron. So this is correct. This one, Fe positive 3, sulfite is negative 2. So definitely mag-crisscross talaga yan. So Fe will take the 2 from sulfite and sulfite will take the 3 from iron. So this is also correct. Okay? Sige, next.
So next is for the lead 2 carbonate. So the same yapon siya sa iron 3 kanina. So first is to write their symbol. So lead has symbol of Pb and for the carbonate is CO3. The number 2 is to write their charges. So lead is positive 2 and for the carbonate is negative 2. So when we add the charges, it is equals to 0. So means equal siya. So dili na tama crisscross. So i-combine na natin siya. So for the lead becomes still the same 2 and for the carbonate is 2. And since may subscript siya ulit, we will put again the open and close parentheses. Next is for the lead 2 hydroxide. The same again, write their symbol, which is Pb for lead and OH for hydroxide. And the number 2 is to write their charges. So positive 2 for the lead and for negative 1 for hydroxide. Then number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 2 plus negative 1 is equals to 1. So since it is not equals to 0, we will do the crisscross. So the lead becomes 1 and for the OH, this becomes 2. So kulang na siya open and close parentheses. And next is for the lead 2 nitrate. So the same again, first is to write their symbols, Pb for lead and NO3 for nitrate. The number 2 is to write their charges. So positive 2 for the lead and negative 1 for the nitrate. And the number 3 is to add their charges. So positive 2 plus negative 1 is equals to 1. Since it is not equals to 0 again, we will do the crisscross. So the lead becomes 1 and for the nitrate becomes 2. And since may subscript siya ulit, we will put again the open and close parentheses. And for the lead 2 sulfide is the same again, is write their symbols. And for number 2 is write their charges. And then for number 3 is to add their charges. So since their charges, when we add is equals to 0, so i-combine nato sila. So the lead become positive 2 pa rin, tapos ang sulfide is 2 pa rin. So we will put we will put the subscript open and close parentheses ulit kasi may subscription. Yan po, ma'am.
Okay, you got the correction last time. Diba sabi ko, pag this is equal to 0, you don't need to do the crisscross. Thus, wala na dapat siyang subscript. Naintindihan yon? So let's have, for example, this one, the lead. Lead is Pb. And then partnered with carbonate, CO3. Tapos ang charge ni lead dito is positive 2, right? And then si carbonate is negative 2. If we add the charges, positive 2 plus negative 2, this is equal to 0. Kung equal to 0, ano nga yung gagawin? Anong gagawin?
Wala nang crisscross, ma'am.
Wala nang crisscross, ma'am.
Wala nang crisscross. So ano yung gagawin natin?
Subscript.
Do we need to place subscripts if we don't do the crisscross? Just like this one?
Hindi na po.
No, hindi na po, ma'am.
Okay, so reporters, ano dapat ang tama na answer dito?
PbCO with open close parentheses of CO3 po, ma'am.
Okay, again, no need to write open and close parentheses. Pag wala kang nilagay na subscript dyan for the carbonate class, no need to write parentheses, ha? So, Pb lang talaga and then CO3. Ganun lang, kapag ka ang charges ay equal to 0, i-combine lang natin yung mga symbols nila. Lead is Pb, carbonate is CO3. So, again, PbCO3. No need to place parentheses. So, the correct answer here again is PbCO3. Nakuha? Reporters?
Opo, ma'am.
Okay. Next, we have Pb positive 2 and then hydroxide is negative 1. So positive 2 plus negative 1 is equal to positive 1. Kailangan natin mag-crisscross. So PB will take 1. Okay. Pag 1, hindi na nilalagay ang subscript ha. And then OH will take the 2. Class, buong OH ang mag-take sa 2. So kailangan natin siya ilagay sa inside the open and close parenthesis kasi ang meaning nitong 2 dito sa baba, sa labas ng open and close parenthesis ay meron tayong dalawang molecules ni OH. Okay? Hindi pwede na ganito. Kasi kapag hindi natin nilagyan ng open and close parenthesis, para lang talaga yan siya kay hydrogen. Ang pangalan ng ating compound ay lead hydroxide. Hindi naman siya pinangalanan ng lead oxygen hydride. Hindi man ganun ang pangalan niya. So lead hydroxide meaning para sa buong hydroxide, itong 2 na ito. Kaya kailangan siya ilagay sa open and close parenthesis. So again, ilalagay lang natin siya inside sa open and close parenthesis pag may ilalagay tayo na subscript. Pero kagaya nito na PbCO3, walang ilalagay na subscript, kinumbine lang natin class ang symbol ni lead and ang symbol ni carbonate. Itong 3 dito para ito sa carbonate, sa oxygen ni carbonate ha, hindi yan siya yung subscript ng buong carbonate. So CO3 carbonate talaga yan, wala tayong subscript dyan, hindi natin siya ilalagay sa open and close parenthesis. Now this one, lead is +2, nitrate is -1. So yes, we have to do the crisscross. PB will take the 1, nitrate will take the 2. So yes, this is correct. And then this one again, +2 si lead, sulfite is -2. If we add the charges, this is equal to 0. So definitely we will not do the crisscross. Pag hindi tayo nag-crisscross class, wala talaga tayong ilalagay dyan na subscript. All we need to do is to combine the symbols of the components of the compound. So the first component is lead, the second component is sulfite. And sulfite is SO3. So i-combine mo lang siya, PbSO3. No subscript needed and no need for a parenthesis again kasi wala nga tayong subscript. I hope na intindihan yon. Questions, class? Anyone na na-confuse? Okay, so let us continue, reporters.
So for the last, in the table A, we have the potassium carbonate. So first again is to write their symbol, which is K for the potassium and the carbonate is CO3. And number 2 is to write their charges. So +1 for the potassium and carbonate has a -2 charges. And then number 3 is to add their charges. So +1 plus -2 is equals to -1. So it is not equals to 0. So ibig sabihin, mag-crisscross na sadta ulit. So for the potassium, maging 2 ang charges and for the carbonate, maging 3. So kulang siya guys, open and close parenthesis.
Ano ang kulang ng open and close parenthesis?
Ano, ang carbonate po, ma'am.
Why? Bakit kulang?
Ay, tama, ma'am.
When do we use the open and close parenthesis? If
ang charge, ang subscript is
if what?
If 2 pataas.
Okay, may subscript siya dyan.
Ay, wala din, ma'am. Sorry po.
Okay, so no need for a parenthesis.
Okay.
Okay.
So next is for the potassium hydroxide. So first again is to write the symbol, which is A for the potassium and for the hydroxide is OH. And then for the number 2 is to write their charges. So 1 for the potassium and hydroxide is -1. So number 3 is, so since it is equals to 0, so i-combine nato sila, remain lang. So since positive 1 and negative 1 man siya. So, pili na natin siya. Ibutang automatic na siya. So, ang symbol for the potassium hydroxide is KOH. Next, for the potassium nitrate. So, again, we will write the symbol, which is K for the potassium, and for the nitrate is NO3. And then for the number 2 is to write their charges. So, positive 1 for the potassium, and for the nitrate is negative 1. And next is to add their charges. So, positive 1 plus negative 1 is equals to 0. So, since it is equals to 0, we will combine the symbol for the potassium nitrate. So, we will have the K for the potassium, which is 1, and for the NO3 is 3. Then next is for the potassium sulfide. First is to write their symbols, which is K for the potassium and SO3 for the sulfide. And then for the number 2 is to write their charges. Positive 1 for the potassium and sulfide is negative 2. And then for number 3 is to add their charges. Positive 1 plus negative 2 is equals to negative 1. So since it is not equals to 0, we will do the crisscross. So the potassium becomes 2, and for the sulfide becomes 3. So yan po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Saan galing ang 3 sa sulfide?
Ay. Ang subscript. Subscript po, ma'am.
Subscript ni sulfide?
Opo.
Okay. I was confused when you say sulfite will have 3 as the subscript. Sulfite does not have a subscript here. Sulfite's symbol is SO3. So ano gina siya, class? It's a combination of sulfur and 3 oxygen. That's sulfite. So si sulfite may isang atom ni sulfur, may 3 atoms ni oxygen. Pero kung sinabi mong potassium sulfate, walang subscript si sulfite dito. It has 1, but nevertheless, we don't really place 1 as a subscript there. So, you don't say na sulfite has 3 na subscript. No, sulfite is just SO3 and you only have 1 molecule of sulfite here. So, wala siyang subscript, ha? I hope
Okay po,
that is clear. So, you don't also place that one inside an open and close parenthesis. So let's start checking this. Potassium is K, carbonate is CO3. So potassium is positive 1 and then carbonate is negative 2. You have to do the crisscross kasi hindi man yan siya equal to 0. So yes, potassium will have the 2 and carbonate will take 1. But again, we don't write 1 anymore. Ano na kasi yan siya, class? Automatic na if you write the symbol CO3, you have 1 molecule of carbonate in potassium carbonate. So this is correct, K2CO3. No need for an open and closed parenthesis ha, because we don't have a subscript there for carbonate. Okay? Next, we have potassium hydroxide. This is positive 1. This is negative 1 here. So positive 1 plus negative 1 is equal to 0. Thus, we don't need to do crisscross anymore. You just write the formula combining the symbols. Next, we have potassium nitrate. K, positive 1. Nitrate is NO3, negative 1. So, positive 1 plus negative 1 is equal to 0. So, just like this one, just write the chemical formula combining the symbols K and O3. And then, potassium sulfide. Potassium is positive 1 again. Sulfide is SO3. The charge is negative 2. So, positive 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. Thus, we need to do the crisscross. So, potassium will have 2 as a subscript and SO3 will be 1 molecule only. So, no need to write subscript and no need for an open and close parenthesis. So, this is correct here. K2 SO3. So class, ang tawag sa kanila ha, ang tawag sa kanila, oops, nawala ang, option ko for annotation. Okay. Ang tawag sa kanila, carbonate, hydroxide, nitrate, sulfide, they are called polyatomic ions. They are ions because they have charges, and polyatomic because they contain many atoms. So, poly means many, right? Carbonate, it has 1 carbon and 3 oxygen. So again, ang tawag natin sa kanila, polyatomic ions. So they do combine with like metals to form inorganic compounds. Again, next. Reporters.
Hi, hello po.
Okay.
Narinig ako.
Yes.
Okay. So, before that, I want you guys to, ito na tawag man, ipin si Faye Ignacio. Di ba yan? Wait lang ah. Makita din niya si Faye.
Oo, Juniel.
Makita? Okay. Wala, makita ko. Ano ba yan? Wait na, nagalag siya. Ano ba yan?
Who is the next reporter?
Ako po.
Okay. What is this, Penelope? You have questions about lead sulfide?
Ma'am, naghinay ko galit ang connection. So, wala na ako na sundan imong na explanation kung or nag-explain ba sa lead sulfide. Pwede pa, ulit, ma'am?
Lead sulfide has, so lead is Pb, right? Pb, and then sulfite is SO3. These are their symbols, and then their charges. Lead here is +2, that is already given in the activity, and then sulfite is -2. So this is a polyatomic ion. The next step is to add this +2 plus -2. This is equal to 0. Now, if the sum of the charges is equal to 0, no need for a crisscross. All you need to do is to write the symbols combining the symbols of the two components of the chemical compound. So this is now the correct answer, PbSO3. Okay?
Thank you po, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello, makita akong papel.
What is that?
Sa Faye Ignacio po.
Okay, go.
So today, I'm gonna show you. Lahi na din. Ay, sa dahil na gayon na. Today, I'm gonna show you live paano siya kwaon ang iyahang chemical formula. So let's start with sodium bicarbonate. So first na himuon nimo when kung magkuan kag chemical formula, you need to wait lang sodium bicarbonate. Na nag-agi.
Makita ninyo. I think that will be very small for them to see.
Small. Dili siya makita. Sige.
I think we need to
bicarbonate.
Small lang ang
Dili gid siya makita. Dili gid siya makita. Makita ako. Dili siya makita. Dili mo ko kakuan
Pwede makita siya, ma'am. Basta ipin siya, ma'am.
Ipin siya.
Ay, makita man siya. Padakon lang ata mo ang sulat. Padakala ang sulat.
Dako alam mo agi.
Sodium. Makita. Bicarbonate.
Mas better.
Mas better. Thank you. Sir, asa na to ako na share screen? Ayan. Napin, di ba napin naman ninyo si Faye? So mag-start na ta. Sodium bicarbonate, iyahang symbol is Na. Ay, mali. Na. And then bicarbonate, iyahang symbol is HCO. And then second na himuon nimo after writing the symbol, you need to write their charges. In order to identify their charges, mabala ninyo na sa ilahang position god sa position sa periodic table. And since si sodium na siya sa group 1, group A.
Group 1A.
Group 1A, iyang charge kay positive 1. And then sa kay bicarbonate, you can check the polyatomic ions na list kay mas easy. So according sa list, iyahang charge is negative 1. And then i-add nimo ang charges. So positive 1 plus negative 1 is equals to 0. Kung mag-equal gani siya 0, ang imong himuon na lang is i-combine na lang sila. So ang final answer is NaHCO3. Mauna na siya mauna na ang chemical formula ni sodium bicarbonate. So nagets ra ko. So number 2, let's kay sodium fluoride. So ulit-ulit, let's write their symbol and then their charges. Na, iyahang charge is positive 1, and then kay fluorine is negative 1. Tapos, add ulit yung charge niya. Positive 1 plus negative 1 is equals to 0. So, 0 ulit ang kanyang, ng charge. So, i-combine lang sila. And then, number 3, proceed pas-pas na kaayo. Silver nitrate. Write their symbol Ag and NO3. Ang charge ni Ag is positive 1 since naaman siya sa group 1A, and then kay nitrate NO3 kay negative 1. So same lang gyapon sa nauna. I-add lang sila. Pag-add mo 0, same lang gyapon, i-combine lang gyapon mo sila Ag and O3. No need na magpuan ka ng crisscross pag 0. Tapos, number 4 na ta, paspas lang. Lead 4. Nitrate. So, maulang gyapon, Pb ang symbol ni ni lead, tapos nitrate NO3. Tapos this kaling arigod o kaling naa sa parenthesis parang 4, mao nang nag-indicate na pila iyang iyang charges. So Pb has positive 4 as iyang charge, and then nitrate iyang charge kay negative 1. So since pag i-add nimo ang charges, dili siya equal to 0, you need to kanang crisscross i-crisscross nimo sila. So pag crisscross nimo, ang 4 maadto siya diri sa kay NO3, ang 1 maadto siya diri kay kay PB. Pero pag isulat na nimo sila, no need to write ang 1 kay as is na siya, understandable na siya nga na ay 1 diha. Okay? So, you need to put kanang open and close parentheses diri sa nitrate nimo. Okay, para dili siya malibog. Dili pud na siya kanang e times ha nga 4 times 3 dili siya e times kay basta. Tapos number 5, copper 2 sulfate. Again, write their symbol Cu and SO. Ay, ano naman? Oh, SO4. Ang charge ni Cu kay positive 2. And then, ang charge ni sulfate kay negative 2. So, kung i-add mo ang positive 2 o negative 2, 0 lang gyapon. So, ulit-ulit, kung equal 0 gani ang pag-add mo sa charges, copy lang, combine mo ang basta i-combine. Na siya. And then number 6 na maklaro gyapon ako ang ginasulat. Lithium sulfate. Again, sulat lang gyapon ang iyahang symbol, Li for lithium, then SO4 for sulfate, and then identify their charges, kung asa sila dapit sa periodic table. Naka-indicate po dito kung asa sila nga group. So, Li, iyahang charge kay positive 1, and then kay SO4, kay negative 2. Since, pag i-add mo sila, ang positive 1 and negative 2, dili sila equal to 0. So, kailangan na po din mo crisscross. So, 2, maato siya diri kay lithium. Tapos, ang 1, maato siya diri kay sulfate. So, 2 and then 1. So, pag i-kuanan mo siya, kanang iyang final answer kay Li2SO4. Di na kailangan magbutang og 1 o dili na po kailangan magbutang og open and close parenthesis. Okay? Number 7 na kay iron 3 chloride. Again, sulat na punta og ilahang symbol, Fe for iron, Cl for chloride. And then their charges, Fe has positive 3 as a charge, then Cl chloride has negative 1. And then, dili siya equals to 0 ang iyahang charges, so we need to crisscross ulit. So, ang positive 3 ma-add to siya diri kay Cl, and then ang negative 1 ma-add to siya diri. Pero dili na siya isulat ang iyang negative ha. Lang gid 1 lang gid siya, number lang gid niya. So, kung i-combine na niyo sila, FeCl3. So that's iron 3 chloride. Yun lang po. Sana naintindihan.
Okay. So all the answers on the screen are correct. And based sa pag-explain ni Janiel, I hope naintindihan yun. Kasi paulit-ulit lang naman din siya. So we have sodium bicarbonate. This is correct. NaHCO3. Sodium fluoride is NaF. Silver nitrate is AgNO3. Number 4, lead nitrate is PbNO34, copper sulfate is CuSO4, lithium is Li2SO4, and lastly, iron chloride is FeCl3. Isahin ko na lang yung discussion ko later, class, kasi after nilang mag-report, magdi-discuss pa rin ako. Okay? Sige, next, reporters, so that we can finish this. By the way, group 2, according kay Ma'am Charm, you may take a break 15 minutes. Pwede na daw kayo mag-log out from this conference, and by 3 p.m. mag-start na daw kayo with your class. So again, pwede na kayo lumipat doon sa klase ni Ma'am Charm. 3 p.m. daw kayo mag-start. Okay, next, reporters.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Who will report the next part?
Next slide, please.
Ay, hala. Asan?
So, okay, number 8 na tayo. So, pakiano lang din yung sa akin kay ginaya ko lang din yung kanina na nag-report. So, number 8, silver perchlorate. So, ganun din, write natin ang symbol niya. Same sila. So, sa silver is Ag, tapos sa perchlorate, di siya maklaro guys, no? Mag-bear na lang mo sa akong ginaingon. So ang perchlorate is common polyatomic ion. So, ang katumbas ito is Cl0. So, sa silver, dagdag na add natin ang sa charges niya. So, plus 1. So, maklaro ninyo, guys. So, i-combine lang ito siya. So, Ag, oh my God. So, ang answer is AgClO4. Tama. Okay, so, ang number 9 naman is tetraphosphorus heptasulfide. So, non-metal plus non-metal niya. So, may mga prefixes lang ito. So, sa tetraphosphorus is 4. And sa heptasulfide naman is 7. So, ang answer niya is P4S7. So, number 10, disulfur. So, same pa rin siya nung sa number 9 na may prefixes. So, answer niya is S2F4. So, sa 11, mercury 2 phosphate. So, ganun din write the symbol. So, sa mercury is Hg. Then, sa phosphate naman is PO4. Then, add lang natin yung charges niya. So, sa mercury plus 2 siya. Then, sa phosphate is -3. So, i-add natin yung charges nila. So, +2 plus -3 is equals to 1. So, ang final answer niya is Hg3, open and close parenthesis, PO4, open and close parenthesis, 2. So, bali dito, nag-crisscross tayo. So, na may question, guys. Proceed na. So, number 12 is carbonic acid. So, sa carbonic acid is, so ang carbonic niya is H. Then, ang acid is bicarbonate ion. So, HCO negative 3. So, lagyan lang natin ng charges. So, ang H plus 1 ito siya. Then, ang isa is HCO negative 3. So, H plus 1, so 0 siya. So, no need na siya i-criss-cross. So, ang final answer niya is H2 kasi, di ba dito, di ba dito, H plus H. So, 2 na ito siya. So, H2CO3. And then, sa 13 naman, 13 is nitrogen tribromide. So, non-metal plus non-metal pa rin siya. So, sulat lang din natin ang symbols nila, which is N for nitrogen, bromide is Br. So, ang charges sa nitrogen is negative 3, tapos sa Br is 1. So, negative 3 plus 1 equals to negative 4. So, not equal to 0. So, mag-criss-cross tayo. So, maging NBr3 na siya. So, 14. Ang nickel 2 chloride. So, ganun din, same pa rin. Sulat natin ang symbol niya, which is Ni, then Cl. So, lagay natin yung charges niya. So, positive 2 plus negative 1 equals negative 1. So, mag-criss-cross ulit. So, ang answer niya is NiCl2. And then, ang last naman is ang gold 3 iodide. So, same pa rin. Sulat ang symbol niya. Then, add ang charges. Ang gold is positive 3. So, ang iodide is negative 1. So, 3 plus negative 1 equals 2. So, hindi man siya equal to 0. So, mag-criss-cross ulit. And ang answer is AuI3. So, yun lang, ma'am.
Okay. Sige, let us check. Silver perchlorate is yes. It's just that itong nitrogen tribromide, we don't do crisscross here has a nitrogen tribromide because this is a molecular compound. So this is non-metal, this is non-metal also. So automatic na kung ano yung kanilang symbol and ano yung prefix, yun yung magiging subscript. So since walang prefix dito, matik ito na 1. And then bromide, may try siya. So this is 3 here. So again, we don't do crisscross here. The rest, this is correct. Mercury phosphate. Carbonic acid, I will discuss later how to name acids. So isahin ko na lang din siya sa discussion. And this is correct. So I think the reporters have given the correct answers for this activity. Sige, let's continue. I will discuss again later. Isahan ko na lang yung mga acids pag-discuss. Next, let's have the naming.
Marinig ako, ma'am.
Yes, Janelle.
Next slide ako, Jen.
Ayan na. Hindi makita.
Ayan, nandiyan na. Thank you. So, nandito na tayo sa sa writing the chemical name of the following inorganic compounds. So, for number 1, AlPO4. Al is the atomic symbol for aluminum, and PO4 is a polyatomic ion, kaya siya naging phosphate. Tama ba? Dala ninyo yung index card, guys. Makita ninyo dito. Tapos, number 2 is Ca is for calcium. Then, C2H3O2 is also a polyatomic ion, kaya siya acetate. Number 3 is Mgs. Mg is the atomic symbol for magnesium. And S for sulfur. Since sulfur is non-metal, gagamitin natin yung IDE sa last kasi IDE is used for non-metal, kaya magnesium sulfide yung answer sa number 3. Number 4, AgCN. Ag is for silver. Cn is a polyatomic ion, kaya yung answer dyan is silver cyanide. Number 5, Fe3N2. Fe is for ion and N is for nitrogen. And since nitrogen is also a non-metal, kaya gagamitin natin ulit yung IDE sa last. Tapos sa positive 2, gawin natin yung crisscross, kaya yung positive charge nalipat kay iron. So ang answer dyan is iron 2 nitride. Okay. Number 6 is KOH. K is for potassium. Then OH is a polyatomic ion, which is hydroxide. Kaya yung answer dyan is potassium hydroxide. Number 7 is NBr3. N is nitrogen, then Br is for bromine. So, kailangan natin gamitin yung numerical prefixes. So, 3 is tama ba? Kaya siya tribromide. And bromine is also non-metal, kaya ginamit natin yung IDE sa last. Yun lang po, ma'am.
Okay. Wait. Before that, go back please. Ayan, aluminum phosphate. Isahin ko na lang din discuss ha, para hindi tayo masyadong matagalan. So this is correct. For you to know na lang if your answers na submit sa Schoology ay tama or hindi. So aluminum phosphate, this is correct. This is calcium acetate, magnesium sulfide, silver cyanide. This is iron 2 nitride. Remember class na nag-reverse tayo, nag-criss-cross tayo dito, which means itong 2 galing yan siya kay iron, itong 3 galing ito kay nitrogen. Kaya ang nilagay dito na charge kay iron ay 2. So iron 2 nitride. Maglalagay tayo class ng open and close parenthesis with the Roman numerals for those elements or metals na tigdadalawa yung charge like kay iron. Kasi iron can be positive 2 or positive 3. Pero kapag hindi dalawa yung charge niya like aluminum, calcium, magnesium, and silver, isa lang naman yung charge nila, hindi na tayo gagamit ng ganito. Roman numerals inside the open and close parenthesis. So I hope that is clear. And then this is correct, potassium hydroxide. And ito class is again an example of a molecular compound, which means ang component niya ay both non-metal. So nitrogen is a non-metal, bromine is also a non-metal. So that's the time we use prefixes. Now for the first element, kapag isa lang kasi siya, isang atom lang, no need talaga gumamit ng mono. Kaya diretso ka na sa name niya, nitrogen. And then the next element is bromine, pero since it's a second element, you have to change its ending into IDE, kaya bromide. Now, meron siyang subscript na 3. That's the time we use tri. So this is correct, nitrogen tribromide. So let's have the next part, the last part, I guess.
So, good morning, ma'am. For the second part of the chemical name. So, Number 8, KMnO4. So K is a metal and MnO4 is polyatomic ion. So first we write the metal. The metal is potassium. Then we look up the polyatomic ion in the next card. You can see it is permanganate. So the answer is potassium permanganate. Next, number 9 is SnCl4. Sn is a metal and Cl4 is a non-metal. So it's an ionic compound. And the name of Sn is tin and the non-metal is Cl4, so it is chloride. The second is non-metal, but wait, ulit mo. Sn is metal and Cl4 is non-metal. So non-metal, we need to change the ending with IDE. So the chlorine forms to chloride. Sn is a transitional method. So we needed to put a Roman numerical at next to the metal. So we don't know so to find the Roman numeral, we need to look at the subscript of where it is bonded. So the subscript of where it is bonded is 4. So the Roman numeral is 4 next to the tin. So the answer is tin for chloride. Next is number 10, P2O5. P and O is both non-metal, so we add prefixes and IDE at the end of second element. So first, P is phosphorus, so its subscript is 2, so its prefix is Di, so the name is diphosphorus. Second is oxygen, and its subscript is 5, so the prefix is penta, so the name is pentoxide. We replace the IDE because in the second element because it is a non-metal. Same with the diphosphorus. Both are non-metal. And next is number 11, FeSO4. Fe is metal and SO4 is non-metal and a polyatomic ion. First, we write the name of the metal, Fe, which is iron. Then we write the polyatomic ion, which is SO4, which is sulfate. Iron is a transitional metal, so the charge depends on where it is bonded to, which is sulfate. So the sulfate has a charge of 2 minus, means the iron has to have the charge of 2 plus to balance it out. So the iron numerical is 2. May mali po dyan, ma'am. So hindi po siya 4, 2 po yan. So number 12 is Na2CrO4. Na2 is metal, which is sodium, and CrO4 is a polyatomic ion, which is chromate. Both of them are ionic compound. So the answer is sodium chromate. Number 13 is Hg2S. So Hg is metal and S is non-metal. First, we name the metal of H, which is Ag, and its name is mercury. Then the non-metal S, which is sulfide. It is sulfate at first, but we change it to IDE because it is a non-metal. And to know the Roman numeral, we just look at the subscript of its bonded to where it is bonded, which is the sulfate. So wala po yan siya. So 1 yan siya sa subscript sa S. So ang Roman numeral niya is 1. Criss-cross lang po siya. Number 14 is PaCO3. Pa is metal and CO3 is polyatomic ion. First, we name the metal, which is barium. Then, second is polyatomic ion, which is carbonate. So then, answer is barium carbonate. Number 15 is Ag3PO4. Ag3 is metal or a transitional metal, and PO4 is a polyatomic ion. First, we name the metal Ag, which is silver, then the polyatomic ion, which PO4, which is phosphate. So the Roman numeral is 1 because we just crisscross the subscript of PO4 and Ag3. So ang charge ng Ag is 1 plus and ang charge ng PO4 is 3 plus. So ang Roman numeral niya is 1. So ang answer is silver 1 phosphate.
Okay. This is the last one, right? So this is correct. Potassium permanganate. This is tin 4 chloride. As you can see in the subscript of chloride, diba? Nag-criss-cross yan siya dyan, meaning the 4 is coming from tin. And then this one, P2O5, both are non-metal, so we will use the prefixes. We have diphosphorus pentoxide. And then iron 4 sulfate. This is iron 2, right? You have corrected this one. Iron 2 sulfate. Kasi sulfate is -2. And wala kang makikita na subscript dyan, which means this is supposedly 0. And for it to become 0, kailangan +2 si iron. Kaya iron 2 sulfate. Now this is sodium chromate. And then mercury 1 sulfide. Because remember, this 2 is coming from the sulfide. Which means, oh wait, this is, yeah. And then we have 1 here. So +1, -2 kasi nag-criss-cross sila. So mercury 1 sulfide. This is correct. This is barium carbonate. Correct din ito. But this one, no need to write open and close parenthesis na Roman numerals. Okay? Bakit hindi ito kailangan? Kasi isa lang naman talaga ang charge ni silver. +1 lang yan siya. Gagamit lang tayo nito kapag kadalawa yung charge niya. Kagaya ni tin. Si tin kasi can be +2 or +4. So we really have to indicate kung anong charge ni tin dito. Pero for those metals like barium, sodium, silver, potassium, they have 1 charge only. So no need to write the Roman numerals. Okay, questions about the report of group 4? Anyone? Wala?